name is Eugene Peterson, and I'm chair of the Anne Arundel County Human Relations Commission. This is our monthly meeting, which happens on the third Thursday of each month, begins at 6 p.m. We are statutorily part of the Anne Arundel County Charter that happened in 2020, and the public decided to make us part of the charter. So we're no longer established by the executive order. We are mandated to be part of the county and the county's efforts. We also are statutorily required to follow the housing discrimination statute that was passed, I believe, in 2019. And that gives us the responsibility for addressing alleged housing discrimination complaints. We have a link on our website, on the county website, in our webpage. You put in Anne Arundel Human Relations Commission, and you can get forms that are translated into several languages or in English if you feel that you are the victim of alleged housing discrimination. We address those complaints, and we take them seriously, and we have the ability to investigate, and through the investigation, either get resolution through both parties, or we could levy penalties if that's required in terms of the housing statute regulations, and we have subpoena power. Recently, in the last, I believe it was the last legislative session of the county, we were given additional responsibilities in addressing alleged public accommodation discrimination. That means movie theaters, restaurants, bars, arenas, wherever people publicly, libraries, wherever people publicly congregate and meet. We are working with the Office of Law to get similar complaint forms on our webpage. That will be accomplished soon. And in addition to statutorily requiring us to look at public accommodation discrimination, we also are charged with looking at alleged employment discrimination. That covers private employers. It does not cover the county. The county employees are still governed by the regulations and the statutes through the county processes, and I assume that's through the Office of Law. That gives you an idea of our overall responsibilities, and we have the larger charge of addressing what we see as alleged discrimination, hate, bias incidents, or trends. And we agree with and support the county executive and the county council who believe that through fighting discrimination, we can truly make Anne Arundel County the best place for all. So at this point in time, I'm going to see, I see we have a couple of more commissioners on now. We have some, I will go through our roll call, and then I'll ask our friends from the, who have joined us from the Annapolis Human Relations Commission for a discussion of the Shepherd Bird hate crimes grant that we have, and our joint interest in it and what joint involvement we might have in that. So I'll ask them to identify themselves. But right now, I'd like to go through our commissioners. When I call your names, say present. Mark Apter. See, Mark is here.
He's on mute.
Okay, Commissioner Sorrow.
Present.
Okay. Commissioner Hatcher.
Present.
Commissioner Daydoni.
Present.
Mark Apter's present.
Okay.
Thank you.
Let's see. Did I miss any of our commissioners? I don't believe I have.
Michaels.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry, our vice chair, Commissioner Michaels.
Here, present.
Gotcha. Fantastic. Okay, and now I'd like to.
Commissioner Gaskin is also on, Eugene.
Pardon?
Commissioner Gaskin.
Commissioner Gaskin, yes. Sorry,
Present.
Commissioner Gaskin.
That's fine. Present.
Okay, great. At this point in time, I'd ask my good friend and chair of the Annapolis Human Relations Commission, Mr. Michael Keller, to introduce himself and then introduce your commissioners that are on our Zoom meeting tonight.
Well, thank you, Chair Peterson. Just a couple of words about the City Commission. The City Human Relations Commission is the oldest of the boards and commissions in the city of Annapolis. It was established back in 1963. The commission in the area of fair housing has the same authority as the county commission, as well as the Maryland Commission on Civil Rights. And that is, we can do investigations, and we can hold hearings, including subpoena power, and we have used that authority in other areas. All other areas, the commission's authority is limited to seeking mediation between the parties, and if we're unable to get both parties to agree to mediation, then we do have the ability to refer a complaint to an entity that does have the authority to do further things. Most recently, the County Human Relations Commission does have that authority, as does the Maryland Commission on Civil Rights, as well as the Federal Equal Opportunity Commission. So that really is where we are. The commission has had a very long-standing interest in and concern about bias incidents and hate crimes that occur and have occurred in the city of Annapolis, and more broadly in Anne Arundel County. And I hope that we'll have an opportunity tonight to have a conversation about that. Very pleased that the City Commission was asked to name a representative to the group that Dr. Nikki is coordinating, and we will definitely have a representative on that, and we'll be getting back in touch with you prior to the deadline that you sent to do that. So I see my role tonight really as a guest, just basically to join in the conversation, but I fully recognize that the major leaders on this are at the county level, specifically in terms of Dr. Nikki and this commission, and also the staff of the Office of Human Rights and Equity. So with that, I'm going to return it back to you, Chairman Peterson, to move us forward in terms of how you would like.
Great. Um, I would add that I have consulted with our vice chair, David Michaels, and I've asked Commissioner Michaels to be our representative on the advisory committee. So that will be I'm going to go ahead and ask Commissioner Michaels to be that representative. So I wanted to let the commission know that I've taken that action. Does anybody have any questions about that? Okay, hearing none. Why don't we move to a discussion of the grant and what role that we see that both commissions might have in supporting the objectives of the grant. And I wonder, Dr. Nikki, do you have anything that you might want to add to that?
Not at this time, because I remember I did do a presentation with each HRC separately.
Right.
The idea for having Commissioner Keller on today was really a learning opportunity for the county HRC, because the Annapolis HRC has been doing this work for much longer and there's a structure in place. So I really wanted him to jump into the history of Annapolis HRC's response to hate crime for us in the county to get some ideas of how we can proceed as the now appointed entity within the county to respond to these incidents.
Okay.
Would it be
It's a good
helpful
place
for
to
me?
start, Chairman Keller?
Would it be appropriate for me to provide a quick summary of that background for the
Sure.
benefit of all of you?
Yes.
Okay,
Please
I
do.
will. Okay.
I'm sorry, I have to jump off. I'm going to protecting places of course.
Okay.
All right. Okay. We're going to go into a sort of a time machine here and whiz back to the last days of the 20th century and the early days of the 21st century in terms of looking at hate crimes and more specifically bias incidents that have occurred in the city of Annapolis. Very, very late in the 1990s, and Chairman Peterson will remember this, many of you will remember it, the Ku Klux Klan had a rally at Lawyers Mall. And what was done then was that just about every public official in the city, everybody of prominence, met separately at St. Anne's Episcopal Church and let the Klan decked out in their robes and all that. There were more police there than there were members of the Klan, but they nonetheless had their rally. And then in the early 21st century, early part of the 21st century, a notorious hate group that is called the National Alliance, the neo-Nazi group. Their spiritual leader was responsible for joining Timothy McKay and destroying the building in Oklahoma City. They're an extremely violent organization. And they made a practice of going around the city of Annapolis, putting vicious, racist, prejudicial literature in bottles and throwing it on people's lawns. And this really worked up. I mean, there was a lot of anger and concern about it, how to stop it. And Mayor Ellen Moyer at the time put together a group of people. I can remember it. She called me and she said, we're going to have a town meeting in City Hall and I'm going to be chairing it. And the city attorney is going to be there and the chief of police is going to be there and you're going to be there. And I just noticed she didn't ask me whether I could be there. She said, you're going to be there. And City Hall, they had over 300 people, standing room only in City Hall over it. And what it was the city attorney basically had to give them a discussion about the fact that what they were up against was, in this case, the expression of First Amendment rights. You do have a right to put notices on people's property. You can't use littering ordinances or anything else. But it clearly signaled to me that there was a need to have a much more proactive sense of direction in terms of dealing with it. And consequently, as a result of that, the city commission cooperated with the county commission and human relations commissions in inviting the Southern Poverty Law Center, that operates out of Montgomery, Alabama. Have got the best in the nation in terms of giving ideas, in terms of responding to groups that involve themselves with bias incidents and hate crimes. And we invited them. They actually came at their own expense. Probably wouldn't do this today, but they came in at their own expense. All we did was cover their transportation. And they led a full-day seminar, full-day workshop on how to respond, how communities can respond to hate groups, and the like. And what came out of that in terms of what our commission has done, there are several things that come to my mind that were very important in terms of what came out of that thing. The first is the importance of acting. So many people think that if you're dealing with hate groups, the best thing to do is just ignore them. They're cranks; they'll go away. They won't, just ignore them, and that's the worst thing you can do, because hate groups take silence as a representative of the fact that there may be people that support them. And so, what you want to do is to deliberately counter what they're engaging in doing. The second is to support the victims. It may be constitutionally permissible to engage in harassment of individuals by putting things on their property and the like, which is hateful and disgusting. But this is extremely disturbing to people. And one thing that came out of that in terms of our commission is if there is any hate group activity in the city that we learn about, we immediately follow up with that party to determine if they have been satisfactorily served by the city of Annapolis, whether there's been outreach to them, and we provide support for individuals who have experienced that. And in connection with that, we have had for many years, we have had a protocol agreement with the Annapolis Police Department that if there is a police report prepared that involves a discussion, excuse me, about an individual or individuals who have experienced a bias incident or a hate crime, that the police will share the report with us. We don't have to ask them for it. They automatically share it with us. And then after the police have finished their work, the commission will contact them and reach out to them. So those are two ways that we have, I think, responded in terms of dealing with hate groups. There's one other suggestion which came out of the workshop that we did with the Southern Poverty Law Center, and that was a suggestion that we establish a so-called speakers bureau that would go into communities that were interested in how to respond to hate groups and give presentations. And while that didn't go, there were issues that came up both at the county level and at the city level. There was some concern by the respective city attorneys as to whether or not individuals should engage in these activities without really extensive training. But The thing that we did do as a result of this is that there was an effort organized by Carl Snowden and the group that he heads up here in the county, for which he's coordinator, that if there is a hate crime or hate incident that comes to our attention, that we will show up with the very following day with signs calling for racial justice and peace. And Arundel, the Human Relations Commission has had several of these over the years. And if you're dealing with hate groups, the best thing to do is to show them that they're not wanted. And I can think of just two incidences which will demonstrate this. One is that we got word, Human Relations Commission got word that a vicious hate group, which calls itself the Westboro Baptist Church. Has anyone heard about them? Okay, it's not a church. It's a family of hateful people. There's nothing religious about them at all. But they were going to come to protest against the Naval Academy because they said the Naval Academy was allowing homosexuals and gays, lesbians to enroll, and that they were going to protest right outside the main gate of the Naval Academy. Well, on the city commission, since it's happening in the city, we jumped on this and we organized a press conference with a whole range of religious leaders in the city and in the county, and including at that time the Reverend Green from Heritage Baptist Church, a Southern Baptist church. That was an extraordinary act on his part to be there. And we held a press conference and basically denounced the Westboro Baptist Church. They didn't show up. They didn't show up. There was opposition. They just took it elsewhere. And that's, I think, an important consideration. Another one was, and this we actually did this in consultation with the county commission. There were incidents up in North County along Mountain Road, and I forget all these things, but individuals would stop at a traffic light, and they would be handed literature through their windows from the Ku Klux Klan. Can you imagine being a motorist and having someone do that? Well, we put together a group and we went up the very, very next day, and we had literature which denounced the Klan and which denounced everything that they stood for. We had about a dozen people up there just passing literature out, the same thing. And the response, we didn't know what response we would get, but I can tell you the response was overwhelmingly positive. People are honking their horns, giving thumbs up. There was an attempt to intimidate us. There was someone who videotaped the whole thing and never came over to speak with us. We think it probably was an act of intimidation. But there again, it's just both of those cases is be a witness. Be a witness for the cause that you believe in. Stand up to hate groups. Don't allow them to dominate the conversation. So those are just a few things. I don't think I want to go on too much more. Get some other voices here, but the City Human Relations Commission has had a long history of making this one of the top priorities that we work on. And as I said, if there's an incident, we're on top of it. We've just most recently had 3 cases here in the city that we followed up on. 2 of them you've heard about. There was the incident with the bicyclists from Prince George's County who were attacked on Main Street. The second incident that I can recall, in which we responded, it didn't get a lot of publicity. A person didn't want a lot of publicity, but he is a local dentist and he received some material which was viciously anti-Jewish. He is Jewish, and it just appeared in the mail. I won't go into detail of what exactly it was, but we followed up with him as well. And then there was the case of the individual owner of a store who had a gay pride flag, and someone was pulling and ripping it down, and they ultimately were able to identify the party who was doing it, and that individual has been charged with a hate crime. Not just a bias incident, but a hate crime. So we've, again, all three of those cases, we followed up with the individuals, and they were all very positive about the fact that we were reaching out to them. So in any case, I'll stop there. Be happy to answer any questions you have, but I would be interested in hearing your thoughts about this as well. Because again, this grant is a county grant. The city commission will provide, support for it. We definitely plan to accept Dr. Nicky's offer to have a representative on the panel. But we view ourselves as being the followers on this grant process. So I'm going to return it back to you, Chairman Peterson. And
okay, I see one of my commissioners has a question or comment. Commissioner Daydoni.
Frankly, I apologize for being me because I always have questions and not necessarily at the right time. Hello, Michael. It's
hi,
good
Mary. How are you?
I'm okay. I hope you are too. Thank you so
Yeah.
much. Those were different times. I may lose my position as a commissioner, but I have heard in the public discourse in the United States of America concerns about Sharia law, concerns about Taliban law, and now I see white Christian nationalist law being written into executive order. Punitive, damaging, life-threatening executive orders against trans people come to my immediate attention. We also know that anyone at any college who receives any public funds or educational institution that receives public funds is threatened with losing all funding from the government, regardless of what that funding goes to, if they support anything that crosses the white Christian nationalist line. We are a public institution. I can certainly see where, by the force of our personalities and the things to which we are individually committed, we can call out and get a large turnout. But I don't know the extent to which our government entities that we represent in this forum would be willing to have us do that in their name. And I'd like to introduce that for some feedback.
Okay. As chair of the commission, I mean, we're an independent body, and my position, unless I'm contradicted, is if we feel there's something in the interest of civil rights, social justice, anti-hate and bias, we can pursue that to the fullest extent. And as long as I'm chair, that's what I intend to do, and I hope the commission intends to do. And I guess at this point in time, if there's any other comment on that, I might ask Director Smith for a comment.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairman Peterson.
Thank you for that question. My best advice is that I will seek advice, right? I think I need to talk to our chief of staff just to confirm what the county exec's position is on this. And I'm happy to get back to you on that. I'm actually G-chatting her now.
Thank you.
Okay.
And I would just make one comment as well in terms of from the city's perspective. The city's ordinance on discrimination includes gender identity. And as far as I can state that any act of discrimination that's aimed at trans people will get responded to very, very quickly by our commission. And, you know, we view ourselves as independent as well. There have been at least 2 instances I can think of in which we angered, 3 cases in which we angered a mayor because we took a position that was not consistent with the view of City Hall. And we won't hesitate to do that again.
Okay, so at this point in time, my statement still stands, and I'm going to continue to run the commission unless directed otherwise, at which point in time I'd have to take my own personal action in terms of how I felt about that. But
Chairman Peterson, I would also like to note that one of the members of the city commission, J. Jerry Williams, has joined us.
all right, and the floor is open for other city commissioners to chime in if they so desire to. Okay.
Chairman Peterson.
Yes.
Sorry for the dark video.
That's okay.
I'm driving and in traffic, but I'm listening, and I'm so appreciative of your leadership on this subject. I appreciate the chairman of the HRC of Annapolis. I can't wait to sit down with him to learn as much as I can, and for Commissioner Dadone, who and I think so much alike. I am in so much traffic that I want to pay attention to that, but I am listening, and will reach out to everybody, but concur with what has been said, and I'm just taking advantage of a history lesson from everybody. So I just wanted to sort of make a blanket statement that I'm here, I'm listening, but also paying attention to what I'm doing.
Point well taken. Any other comments from either group of commissioners here in terms of what we're talking about doing? I think what Chairman Keller and myself are saying is that we both agree that there's a role that we can play, and of course the advisory group for the grant will have some, I think, guidelines, proposals of things that could be done, but there are things that we could possibly look into. One of the things that comes to mind to me is that we also, Chairman Keller, get county data. In fact, it's on our webpage. The county provides us with information on hate bias incidents in Anne Arundel County. And I'm wondering if we might check into seeing if there's coordination with the Annapolis Police Department and the County Police Department, so that the data that the Annapolis Police Department gets can be shared on our webpage link, and that would be something we could pursue together.
I have a question. In regards to your initial question, Chairman Peterson, where you said, I think the objective of this discussion right now is to figure out what our mission would be. And Chairman Keller, thank you so much for providing some background. So, would it be more of a responsive advisory group, or I'm just trying to understand, like, what is the determination of the grant? Like, what is it expected to fund, to kind of help me understand a little better?
All right. Asha, you have any thoughts?
Sure, I can provide a little background. I know that Nikki obviously would want to be here. Dr. Nikki would want to be here for any elaborate or detailed discussion of the grant and proposed use of the grant. But I can say that it is intended to support addressing hate bias incidents in the county and addressing hate crimes in the county. So everything from prevention to education to reporting of hate crimes, like encouraging people to report, to prosecution of hate crimes, and the provision of victim services. And so, one of the priorities in the grant is to develop a coordinated response between community stakeholders, commissions, law enforcement, the state's attorney's office, making sure that everyone's on the same page as to what hate crimes are, making sure that all of the stakeholders know the landscape in the county in terms of what our response apparatus sort of looks like, the data around hate crimes. So those are the sorts of activities that the funds are intended to be used for. Dr. Nikki is working on implementation, and just, a brief introduction also to Tatum Connor. I'm not sure if you guys have met Tatum. Tatum is working on the Shepherd Bird grant as well. She is supporting Dr. Nikki in an administrative role. And so you'll see her periodically at these meetings and around the county as well.
Hello, everyone.
Thank
All
you
right.
for joining. Hello.
Hi. Glad to see you here.
So I
Any
think
other questions, comments?
Asha, you may have already stated this, but you posted something in the chat regarding the dashboard. What is that? What is that detail, and what should we be able to see from that link that you provided?
Sure. So Chairman Peterson was saying that we have some data that we have access to about hate crimes that are reported in the county.
Mhm.
The annual year-over-year data is available on that dashboard. So the most recent update reflects the 2024 hate crime data. There are some nuances here. The commissioners, the county commissioners are aware of some of this. For your additional information and awareness, the criteria that are used to capture incidents on this dashboard, it's the state's criteria for hate crimes. The state collects this data. So there are hate bias incidents that are reported that don't, to the police, that don't rise to the level of crimes.
Mhm.
The incidents that you see reflected on this dashboard are those that meet the state criteria. And so it does break it out by demographics of the victims, the offenders, the locations, the type of crime, the basis for the crime. That kind of information is available on the dashboard.
I tell you what, 2019 was not a good time for a Black person.
No, we had some rough years. And, the county exec was really actually very, very responsive to the numbers. There was a lot of concern about the numbers. This is the lowest, 2024 was the lowest number that we've seen in a long time in Anne Arundel County. The numbers were really significantly down.
I also might add that if you look at the data, it also, I think, gives an interesting look at trends. You can actually see where these incidents are occurring in parts of the county. So it gives you some idea of where we might think about wanting to place our emphasis in terms of any proactive activity we might take. Am I on base with that? On point with that, Asha?
Yes, absolutely. You'll see that there's a map that reflects incidents by zip code, and you can see where the incidents are occurring, and you can look at that for each year. Historically, it's the largest numbers are in areas where we have high population density, where people tend to encounter each other more. And so you find numbers being high in Pasadena, Glen Burnie, and Annapolis.
And that's historically been the case.
Yes.
One other question. So this was, I want to say a few months back. It was warmer times, and I believe we had started talking about hate bias, and there was an incident that happened to one of the churches. And Commissioner Peterson, I believe you was wanting to reach out, have someone reach out to the victims. I think Commissioner Apter, Commissioner Dedoni were two of them that was going to try to reach out, but there was already an organization established that kind of did things in that nature to reach out and kind of give, see what they can do to support the victims. Director Smith, do you remember what the group was called? Or this was like several months ago.
Lakeisha, our Chairman Hatcher, Commissioner Hatcher,
Yes,
was
ma'am.
that the Franklin Methodist Church desecration?
Yes. So my question now is there a possibility to kind of link different groups together and kind of forge how to move forward, or do we have that concept yet, or are we just, this is the whole purpose to talk that out right now?
So Dr. Nikki is putting together a multidisciplinary team to work on the objectives of the grant, which is hate crime prevention, prosecution, resolution, and victim services. So you may have heard Mr. Keller say that she sought a representative from the city of Annapolis's HRC. I think, Tatum, you may know how many groups she's invited to participate. I want to say it's like 19 or 21, something like that, different entities that are represented.
That number sounds about right, but she sent out a lot of invitations. I think she wants to keep it between that 20, I think 22 might be our extreme, the largest she wants to go at this point, I believe. But yes, she has sent out to all of the groups intended and waiting for responses back. I see them coming through every day, of people assigning themselves or assigning other proxies for representation. So yes, that's in the works right now.
Thank you.
Just so that you know, it's a range of groups. So some of them are governmental. She's sought representation from not just the Human Relations Commissions, but the Commission for Women, the Immigrant Affairs Commission, which is now, I think, the Multicultural Affairs Commission, the Community Reinvestment and Repair Commission. She has sought representation from the Community College, a variety of stakeholders throughout the county, the local advocacy groups such as ACT, CAL. A lot of these groups have been she's soliciting representation from a lot of the groups in the county.
Thank you.
Further discussion, questions, very good questions. Well, I think at this point in time, Chairman Keller, I think what we should do, and I think is continue to have dialogue and wait. I think we need to wait for, before we take any action, wait to see how the disciplinary committee comes together, and what kind of outline of activities that they think would help meet the objectives of the grant. And then that would give us, I think, an idea of where we might be able to be of some help. Does that make sense?
Yes, I think that's a good way of proceeding, Chairman Peterson.
Okay. This point in time, I'd like to thank our visitors from Annapolis. You're willing to stay, if you like, for the rest of our business. And want to thank Tatum and others who are here in support of the effort. And this has been, I think, a very useful discussion and use of our time to understand the history of the activities that the Annapolis Human Relations Commission has been involved in for many, many years, and being able to share the dashboard information from the county police department. And I still think, Chairman Keller, I will pursue this with Director Smith, is how we can also make sure that they incorporate that Annapolis data too in whatever way that they do from the Annapolis Police Department.
Yeah, and Chairman Peterson, and I'd also like to mention that another of the city commissioners, Linda Monday, has joined, but I believe that she's just going to be listening in on the conversation. She indicated that that's the role that you would like to
Okay.
to play.
I see Commissioner Daydoni.
Thank you again for recognizing me again. I will limit my apologies for my existence to one per minute and per meeting. It's already been offered. Chairman Keller, you spoke of the Maryland Commission on Civil Rights. Many of us have had the opportunity to attend two powerful sessions put together by the Maryland Commission on Civil Rights recently. The MCCR, in collaboration with Asha Smith's office, is hosting a hate bias crimes forum on March 29. I look forward to all of us being there and having the chance to engage in person together. I don't know if there's a chance for us to actually form, even a lunch table together. But I do have a strong sense that the closer we remain aligned in person, and you've heard me, Commissioner Apter, in person with each other, the more support we will be during these times of changing challenges.
I agree with you, Mary.
I think we're all in agreement with that. There's no question. And we got the email, and I also encourage all commissioners to sign up for that session. I think it's Saturday,
March
29th.
Yep, I've registered.
Okay. So with that, any other questions, comments? Okay. Seeing none, again, I'll thank the Annapolis Human Relations Commission folks for joining us, and move on to our next item on the agenda, which is the update on the wiretapping fair housing testing legislation. This will be really brief. I contacted Delegate Bartlett, who's the vice chair of the House Judiciary Committee's office, and asked if they could come and give us an idea of where the bills are at this point in time. There's two bills, the House and the Senate bill, and they were unable to meet with us. Of course, there's a legislative session going on. That's understandable, but Delegate Bartlett said she would provide some written information on where the bills are. I don't want to steal Justin's thunder, but I had a brief conversation with Justin. We talked about both bills. It looks like this carve out from the statute, the wiretapping electronic surveillance statute in the state, which requires two parties to be aware of the recording of any conversation. This bill, or both bills, which are very similar, if not alike, would carve out so that an oral communication could be recorded. And it looks like there's a strong possibility that this legislation that we have provided written testimony on has a good chance of passing in this legislative session. I just thought I'd bring you up to date with that, and you can, as soon as I get the information from Delegate Bartlett, I will forward it to all the commissioners. I'd like to move on to our next item, which is Justin Pileska, our intern, who is following legislation in the House and the Senate. And Justin, the floor is yours.
I'll just hop in really quickly and say that Justin is he's a second year service year fellow with the governor's service year program. He's been assigned to our office. He's with us for 9 months. He's been doing a great job following legislation. I think he's a little nervous about this evening, but he's really put together a great presentation for you. So please, feel free to share your questions and your suggestions for him. Justin, take the floor.
Thank you so much, Asha. Well, hello, commissioners alike from both Annapolis HRC and Anne Arundel HRC, and everyone who may be watching. As Asha introduced me, my name is Justin Pileska, and I am the Senior Service Fellow for the Anne Arundel County Office of Equity and Human Rights. And part of my tasks for the 9 months that I am with the office is tracking legislation through session 2025, which began in January and ends respectfully, I believe, the first week of April. So part of my tasks and presentation to give to you guys tonight is to highlight some priority bills that I think the commission, or I believe our office believes the commission should kind of take an eye to. Obviously, as a commission, it's your decision to take a stance on any type of bill, provide testimony on any bill that arises. As you guys been getting my emails, Anne Arundel County HRC commissioners, there's a floating document going around with our bills that we're highlighting this session, and as it is still changing daily, the document is under construction daily. Constant bills getting added from both the Senate and House, respectfully. So I'm excited to kind of go deep in depth to some bills that Asha and I have kind of highlighted and we think would be of interest to the committee. So I'm just going to share my screen, and apologies if there's any lag, any connection issues in advance. All right. I am just going to hit present. So welcome to our Maryland General Assembly Bills of Interest Session 2025 presentation for the Office of Equity, Human Rights and Anne Arundel County Human Relations Commission. Introductions already said, so I'm just glad to be here with you guys. Just wanted to give you a rundown of the presentation this evening. So we're going to be covering subsections of our priority interest that we have for bills. There are 4 that I've kind of split in the presentation for us to go over, and then just the respective bills in both the House of Delegates and Senate. They're just in order of bill number and in order of subsection. When I go through each bill, there's going to be a recommendation of action that We've provided whether if we think it's favorable enough for you guys to provide testimony on. You guys are also more than welcome to send individual letters of interest, letters of support to your respective delegates and senators. Obviously, as a commission, it is your prerogative to do just that under the chair and vice chair, and you guys as individual citizens, and then just kind of procedures for general testimony as a commission and general individuals. Do we have any questions before I begin? Commissioner Peterson, I can't see the raised hand feature, so if there's anyone with a raised hand.
Well, of course there is a person with a raised hand.
Hi, Commissioner Zanoni. How are you?
I'm fine. Hello, Justin. Please call me Mary. First, thank you for what you've been providing. And thank you to the extent that it's public, and that's a question I'll want to raise again. As we go into this discussion of the bills you recommend that we keep our eye on, I want to turn back to our charge that Chairman Peterson reads to us at the beginning of every meeting. And I heard you just now say, if we would like to be involved. I'm going to suggest that we ask ourselves, are we obliged to be involved? Given our charge, are we obliged to be involved and make it less an issue of whether or not we prefer to be involved? It's a time for a strong awareness, I believe, of our social responsibility. Thank you.
Point well taken.
Thank you so much. And I want to thank you again, Commissioner, for raising that question of interest as well. And of course, the list that's going around, as I stated in my email, please feel free to just send us the names that you're going to send them to. And you're more than welcome to send it to anyone who you would like to, who should know about the bills of interest. All right. Moving on to our favorite subsection of bills in this commission is fair housing. I know that's been a big high priority discussion, especially with the bill that I'm going to introduce, or shouldn't say introduce, but bring up to you guys again. I'm just going to dive right into it. So, of course, there's House Bill 392, cross-filed with Senate Bill 107. And as Commissioner Peterson introduced, it is the Interception of Oral Communications Fair Housing Testing Bill, and Delegate Bartlett and Senator Sidner have been champions of this bill, the sponsors. And currently, for those who don't know, the bill is basically about fair housing testing, providing that it's lawful for a person to intercept oral communication given for fair housing testing in both the federal, state, and local government, and then other nonprofit organizations. So it's basically the fairness of two-party consent. A lot of the points that have been brought up in testimony have been both on the opposing and favorable sides have been the two-party consent issue, and then also the precedent for the bill. So the current status is that it's had its first hearing, had its first reading as well. The first hearing was February 4th at 1 p.m. And then, as all of you on the commission know, that HRC provided testimony on the bill. So the next steps for this bill are for us to kind of keep an eye on it, keep track. I spoke with Delegate Bartlett's office as well this afternoon, and right now it's still in committee. It still hasn't been taken to the back to the floor yet, but we're going to keep a good eye on it. Next bill for fair housing is House Bill 709, cross-filed with Senate Bill 651, and that is landlord and tenant residential leases and holdover tenancies. And that is local good cause termination, good cause eviction. So that's basically, to summarize, authorizing Maryland jurisdiction to adopt or local law ordinance provisions prohibiting certain landlords of residential property from failing to renew a lease during their lease period, or from terminating a holdover tenancy without good cause. So that establishes certain requirements and prohibitions for a local law ordinance adopted in accordance with this act. More information could also be found in the document. I urge you to go to the MGA website for all the nitty-gritty with the bill. Currently, it had its first hearing on Wednesday. Was Wednesday the 18th? Tuesday or Wednesday at 1 p.m. And in one of the committees, and right now I believe it is still in committee, still being heard, and that's the last action on the bill that it had its first hearing. Next bill in fair housing is House Bill 896, cross-filed with Senate Bill 677, and that is what you guys are, human relations. What do you know? Human relations, discrimination in housing, income-based housing subsidies. So providing that a certain landlord may not refuse to rent to a prospective tenant who pays rent with the assistance of income-based housing subsidy under different circumstances. So that's also something that the Maryland Commission on Civil Rights has been following. I would also like to note that the past three bills are top priorities in the Maryland Legislative Black Caucus. It was specifically mentioned on their legislative agenda. So that's just another thing to keep in mind when reviewing this bill. Last action was also at the same hearing on February 18th, and it's still in committee. I'm just kind of gonna sit and watch what happens with that bill, ready to take action on it, and I will move on from there. Next subsection of bills that we're covering are equity and human rights. So this is kind of a generalized, some bills that we should be focusing on as a commission, as an office, in different general subsections of subsections. So House Bill 190, also cross-filed with Senate Bill 677, has to do with geriatric and medical parole in the corrections institutions. So this this bill has to do with basically reevaluating the age of incarcerated individuals, ensuring whether to grant them parole, and also evaluates the request for medical parole, including providing for a meeting between incarcerated individual and the commission or oversight board. So definitely something that I believe the commission would like to take interest in, something to note, definitely a something our office is keeping an eye on. Currently, the bill hearing for this is on Monday at 1 p.m. So we'll be tuning in to hear about that specific bill.
Justin, quick question.
Yeah.
The correctional bill that you just spoke about. So because of the word geriatrics, we're not talking about juveniles at all, correct? There's all older.
Correct.
Being considered. Correct. Okay. Just wanted clarification. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you so much. And then I think the next bill, Madam Commissioner, is going to be can include the role of juveniles entering the justice system on the back end. So I just I'll dive deep into that. This is also a big priority of both the Maryland Latino Caucus and Maryland Black Caucus in the legislature. Petition to reduce sentence, the Maryland Second Look Act. I'd like to also note that this legislative priority has been enacted in some states before and have seen marvelous statistics on it. This authorizes an individual to file a petition with the court to reduce the sentence if the individual has served at least 20 years of the term of confinement and at least 5 years have passed since the court has decided any previous petition filed by the individual under the act. Most people in the favorable portion of the testimony, I did attend this hearing on the 18th, really wanted to reiterate that this is not a get out of jail free card, but it's just giving people that second chance, that second look to kind of drive that point across. As I said, it had its hearing on the 18th, and this is something that us as in our office and I believe as a commission will be looking at heavily to see if this passes. This is also one of the bills Delegate Bartlett's office, when I spoke with them, is a big priority for them, as well as the Maryland Black Legislative Caucus. All right, House Bill 1055, the Commission on Non-Discrimination. This is the establishment of a new commission to monitor and study non-discrimination laws and regulations and impacts of the actions of the federal government on those laws and regulations, and to recommend the legislation to address any deficiencies in non-discrimination protections in Maryland. And I also like to note in the bill language that a portion of the commission is targeted towards local human relations commissions for them to sit on the commission. This gives an opportunity for this potentially our county to be represented on the state level once again as well, to kind of sit and give perspective on non-discrimination action. And this also will obviously go to the governor and general assembly at the end of the year to give reports on. And this hearing is March 7th at 1 p.m. Testimony is open as well. If you have any questions about providing testimony, please feel free to contact me individually, and I can work on with the commission, with commissioners individually, to get the ball rolling on that. But that's definitely one of the big heavy hitter bills for us to keep an eye on. Another big heavy hitter bill, which a lot of the specialty groups across the state of Maryland, Maryland Latino Caucus, Maryland Black Caucus, Maryland Developmental Disabilities Council, Annapolis Pride, and the Maryland GLAD chapter have all put on their legislative priorities, and that's the Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, the American Dream Act, and that's Senate Bill 3, cross-filed with House, I should say House Joint Resolution 4, and that's affirming Maryland's commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion as a foundation of the American dream, and upholding the certain individuals and groups to adopt and uphold DEI principles. And the Senate hearing for that is March 13th at 1 p.m. While it's widely symbolic, it still holds a lot of water in meeting. So I definitely something that the commission should keep a big eye on as well. Our office is keeping an eye on as well. And I believe this, from the kind of under talk around the state house, around the county, and around the state of Maryland, and other state agencies, is going to be a priority for a lot of local jurisdictions as well to kind of be in support of this bill. Next subsection will be covering education-related bills. So this is House Bill 86, cross-filed with Senate Bill 435, and that's institutions of higher education, elementary, secondary schools, the Title IX coordinators, requiring the governing boards of each institution in higher education in the state and local systems to designate a Title IX coordinator to ensure the compliance with Title IX of the Federal Civil Rights Act of 1964. So that's basically upholding that standard within the act. The current status of the bill is it had a hearing on February 4th. It was referred from Ways and Means Committee to the Appropriations Committee. So it's still being viewed in the Appropriations Committee, and I believe it is going for a second reading. And that was the status on that bill.
Justin, I just wanted to clarify that one is Title VI.
Title VI, yes.
Title VI, yep.
So sorry. Thank you so much.
No, you're fine. You're fine. Keep going. You're doing great.
Awesome. And then House Bill 531, education, and that is the Remote Learning Accommodations Established College Disability Education Act, and that was heavily supported by the Maryland Developmental Disabilities Council, requiring all public institutions of higher education to establish remote learning accommodations for students with disabilities that impede regular in-person attendance. And that's the bill hearing for that was also on the 18th, and it's still in committee, something that the Maryland Higher Education Commission, as well as Maryland Civil Rights Commission, is also heavily focusing on in that realm. And then something, of course, that has came up in our regularly daily lives is immigration status related bills. So we have House Bill 1006, and that's Immigration Enforcement, Sensitive Locations, Guidelines, and Policies Protecting Sensitive Locations Act. And this is requiring the Attorney General of Maryland to develop guidelines related to immigration enforcement at sensitive locations. And the hearing for that is on the 27th at 1 p.m. So if commissioners, as a commission or commissioners individually would like to testify on that bill, again, please feel free to I can work with you on that individually or as a commission. And then House Bill 1222, the Immigration Enforcement Maryland Values Act, requiring an employee or agent of the state or local correctional facility or law enforcement agent to detain an individual not lawfully present in the United States who has been convicted of a certain crime, violence, and transfer the individual to federal immigration authorities under certain circumstances. This bill also is on being heard on Tuesday, the 27th at 1 p.m. So again, if commissioners who would like to provide testimony, please feel free to reach out to me. Before I move on to my next points, I just wanted to say that this is the tip of the iceberg. That bill document, like I said, is still being under construction, still working on gathering bills of interest. You know, as a commission, as an office, we have our work cut out for us. And I just want to take the time to say that I'm so glad to be a part of this work. As you can see, I'm very nervous, as Asha pointed out, speaking to you guys, because this work is so important. And I'm just so glad to be here with everyone, putting policy into action and getting the work that needs to be done. So I just wanted to thank you guys for that. And action items. So I'm gonna, I guess, open the floor back up to Commissioner Peterson. We're gonna, I guess, if anyone has any feedback, anything that like to discuss, please, I will turn it back to Chair Peterson.
Okay. I'm trying to get back to the screen, but that's okay. Let's see. Because you're still.
Oh, so sorry.
It's okay. It's fine, Justin. First, I'd like to thank you for such a robust and complete presentation. And it gives us a lot to think about and a lot of work if we choose to do it to do. So far, I've been providing testimony. I'm retired, so yeah, I guess I could continue to crank them out, but it would be helpful to have some help from other individual commissioners who might feel strongly about a bill or a couple of bills. Commissioner Daydoni.
Thank you. I didn't get in time last time. Chairman Peterson, thank you for the testimonies that you have provided, particularly on the carve out for being able to record real estate transactions, in essence, that, you know, the testing law. Mr. Poleska, thank you so much. As an example, I want to share this link with the Anne Arundel County NAACP Political Action Committee. I understand it's dynamic. The list is dynamic, so I will be sharing a link to a dynamic list. And if you're willing to put that link in the chat for others, and this is a model of me telling you who it's going to. And when I share it on to the chair of the Political Action Committee for the local NAACP and the president of the local NAACP, I will include wording that says this is not to be shared without permission from and send them back to you without notification to. I deeply appreciate the way you're on top of this. You've summarized it. You have asked us to keep an eye on these things. I have seen many a bill die in committee. It used to be a favorite way of killing bills, particularly in judiciary and judicial proceedings. We may want to do more than keep an eye on, and that falls to us. You have done your job, commissioners on both commissions. It now falls to us if these look like they're going to die in committee. Mr. Poleska, do any of them look like they're going to die in committee right now?
Thank you so much, Commissioner Daydoni. I really appreciate that. I'll reiterate the words that I've heard speaking with different members of our legislative team in Maryland, different staffers of, for instance, Delegate Janelle Wilkins, staffers of Delegate Bartlett. I will say, at this point, it's too early to tell. And that's not to say that it's right now, as as humans, we all carry that hope that the bills that need to get passed, the ones that we're not in favor of don't. But at this point, as studying these bills and looking over these bills, I can't give a guarantee answer to any of them. I'm scheduling a meeting with some of our government relations team members at the county executive's office next week to get some kind of feedback on the likelihood of different bills. But at this point, as someone studying right now, I just can't give a concrete granted answer, if that makes sense.
Thank you. Then I want to talk to three of the categories of bills as examples of my next question. That is, how do we stay attuned to the actual actions? Let's turn to the criminal justice bills, particularly the Second Look Act and the geriatric parole bill. Those are both under threat. I had heard from the leader of Maryland Cure, which is a very active organization in this area, that there had been a proposal to raise the number of years you have to be in prison before you're eligible from 20 years to 30 years. That means a lot of people die before they get the opportunity. I have also heard from the head of Maryland Cure that the action of seeking parole is so delayed in administrative process that those who are eligible or would be eligible under the geriatric bill are dying in prison. I'm on this commission because Cal and the NAACP nominated me. So I'm going to talk about what happens to Black people, and I think you all know it. Over incarceration and harsher crimes for the same convictions. It's been a way of getting Black people out of society and keeping them out of society and in prison. And if that happened in the 70s, 80s, 90s, they're still there. Unless they were released for some of the murders under the Unger Act. I will tell you also, for those of you who haven't, I have stood next to and held hands with convicted murderers who admit to their crime. Now, this is what we regard as the most egregious crime, and I've heard them say they're people who should never get out. But I have also heard them say, and the stats seem to support this, this is a one-time crime of passion that carries our most severe lifetime penalty. And now here are bills trying to say these people should not be thrown out of society forever, and they're at risk of dying in committee and not getting passed. I'm speaking as Mary Dodoni, an advocate, not as a commissioner. I suggest watching both Maryland Cure and Maryland Alliance for Justice Reform, MA4JR, major. Their advocate groups will keep us informed of what's happening about the bill. And I offer that as an example because if we wish to follow that, we can then say a bill, and here are the advocates who are going to be following it. The immigration bill. It is already required that if ICE identifies someone who's been detained for a certain crime and that person is known to be undocumented, that they be held. I'm not sure what the purpose of this additional bill is, and that's my own ignorance. I apologize, but I think it's worth watching. Those are examples. I would like to defer, and if possible, I see my fellow commissioner, Ms. Sorrow, raising her hand.
Yes.
Yeah, I was just gonna say on that, the bill that requires that detainees be turned over to ICE. The bill prohibits counties from engaging in the 287G agreements with ICE, that 3 of our counties still engage in.
Right.
So essentially, it's saying, okay, you have to follow the law in the first half of that bill, but the second half of the bill is so the first half of the bill doesn't change the law at all. The second half of the bill prohibits the practice of counties cooperating with ICE to provide facilities for holding detainees.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Sorrow. I almost weigh my 287G with a circle around it and X through it button from 2016. I've still got it. Thank you for the clarification.
Yep. That one's a little, I did the same thing, Commissioner Daydoni. When I looked at that, I was like, oh, okay, this looks bad. And then you keep reading and you're like, oh, okay, I see what. So that just wanted to throw that in there.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Sorrow. Any other observations, questions? One of the things I think that this discussion has shown is that if you have commissioners and interest in any of this particular legislation, you should let Justin know so that he could help you construct some testimony. And as we know, the way you start conducting testimony is using Google, which is what I do to get some information that I can then utilize in the testimony. And I find that Google has some good information in terms of specific aspects of the bill. Once you read the bill, you can get some idea about that. The only thing that I would ask, Commissioner After, you have a question?
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, no, that's fine. The only other thing I would ask Justin is, I haven't asked Delegate Bartlett, because when she and I met before the session, she said, I will handle the senators in the House. You work with your commission and get ready to provide testimony. So I haven't used another avenue, which would be to request on specific legislation a meeting with the Speaker or the President of the Senate. And I'm wondering, I probably should run that by the county executive, the
Ethan,
and the Delegate Bartlett and other interested parties before I would do that. Is that the way that works, Justin, in your opinion?
I will defer that to Asha as far as meeting with either the Speaker, Speaker Jones or President Ferguson. That would definitely be something of interest, and I would love to see the commission, pursue such an avenue. But I'll defer that to Asha.
All right, Director.
I think it's a great idea. So first, I would say for testimony that's coming from the commission and conversations such as the one you just described, I would run it by the legislative team. Happy to facilitate an email to Ethan, who is very responsive. I can connect the two of you and just say that you're interested in doing a couple things around some legislation, and then you can talk about it from there. In addition to that, I did hear back from the Chief of Staff, and what they said is, provided that what the commission wants to do is consistent with the law, they are encouraging any advocacy that you want to do. They noted that the county executive was present at a protest over the weekend. And he spoke at that protest. So, in terms of the scope of your activities, provided that they're consistent with the law, it sounds like the county exec is on board.
Okay. So, full steam ahead, it sounds like. That's good news. Again, any commissioners who take a look at the list of bills, if you have a particular interest, I strongly encourage you to get with Justin and work on providing testimony. One of the things that's interesting about this is there's different days that you have to, there's windows when you provide testimony. Like if it's a Monday, it's for, I forget, it's for a Friday. If it's a Tuesday, it's for a Thursday or something. You need to check, and Justin will help you figure out how that works too, and me too, because it is it's not just one day. Because I felt on the last testimony that I provided that it had been on Friday, and I couldn't see how to get the testimony in on a bill that the health committee, and I think I sent that to all of you, was interested in getting testimony on Delegate Pena Milnick's committee that she chairs. And I called her office and they said, oh, well, it's not Friday. You need to do this on Monday. So it is a little confusing, but once you find out when you can provide testimony, you have to get an account with mymga.com. That's my Maryland General Assembly.com. And then that's the key to the kingdom in terms of providing written. You can provide written testimony. If you really want to, you can do it oral testimony. And if you're really interested in what happens in the hearing, it's on YouTube, and you can actually access that through my MarylandGeneralAssembly.com. So I just thought I'd bring those things up. Did I cover everything, Justin?
Yes, definitely. Commissioner Peterson, do you mind if I say a couple of things real quick?
No, please do.
Just wanted to, again, thank everyone for their attention. I just wanted to highlight that and with some of you, I am learning as well. My background in legislation is education policy, so I'm getting into whole new realms of advocacy here with, different human rights related bills and everything. So I just wanted to thank you guys for allowing me to assist you all with legislation. I dropped my contact information in the chat in case you don't have it. I'm happy to work with commissioners, as Eugene Peterson stated, individually or as a group to help draft testimony on related bills, how to provide testimony as an individual. The other thing I just wanted to reiterate that Commissioner Sorrow put in the chat, that it is 2 business days before the bill is supposed to be introduced, between the hours of 8 and 6 p.m. to get it to the committee. So that's kind of the time frame you'd have to get testimony in if you're willing to send it. And that's all we have. As Asha Smith likes to say, and I'm going to quote our fearless leader, we're cooking with gas. So thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it.
Appreciate you. Thank you so much again for a very well-rounded presentation. Okay, now we'll move to, and I think Dr. Gillens is on, so I think I'd like to ask Dr. Gillens if she has some information on the Unity Day activity this coming year, this March, coming in March.
Yes, hello everyone.
Dr. Gillens.
So I am off camera. I am in the car. I had to pick the kid up from a basketball game. No, so I apologize. Riley, a concert. Okay. So I apologize. I'm going to try to see if I can do the hands, my earbuds. So I won't get interrupted. Asha, I will need your help if that's okay. If you can pull up the email that I sent, and that'll just help me keep track of the conversation. So I do have some logistics to share with you all. The seat student meeting is 100% virtual. We would probably use the platform Google Meet because that's what students use in Anne Arundel County Public Schools. The date is March 13th. And I believe it's 5:30 to 7.
You have 5:30 to 7:30. And just so you know, Dr. Gillens, I did reformulate the document that you sent me and share it with the commissioners so they have an email as well. But please continue. So yes, it's 5:30 to 7:30.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. And so this is what we're thinking as far as the run of show or the order of the meeting. Is first have either Miss West, Katara West, who oversees the SEAT program, or she may designate a student, just to give some information to HRC about what is SEAT, what are the things that they work on for their respective schools or school communities, to give you all insight. I'd sent that information, but I think there's something to say about hearing it directly from the sponsor or a student. So that'll kick it off. And I'm sure they'll probably go around to say what school they attend. And then we're going to pass that on to you all, where then I think it's important for the students to know who you are, what your goal is, what are some things you've been able to get accomplished as a human relations commission. I think that's really important for students to see advocacy happening in real time and the impact of the advocacy that you all have had. So we'll have time for that. And then also giving them kind of the journey we've been on and why this partnership with Anne Arundel County Public Schools started a few years back over at Downs Park when we did that tree lighting. I think they need some context around those events we did at Downs Park and then the park in Truxton Park. And why we're, switching up this year. We really want to hear from students to give some insight on the goal is to bring communities together, right, in unity and really uplift Dr. Bedell's vision around Belong, Grow, and Succeed, and to hear from them as to what can the community do to align what Dr. Bedell, we know he believes in, and making sure that all students belong so they can grow and succeed in Anne Arundel County. And again, just being that community-facing conversation. What can the community do to wrap their arms around our students and hear from them on that? And then my ask is that if there are about 2 to 3 questions that commissioners want to ask of students, if that can be provided. I think I gave a date in the email.
It's March 3rd.
Thank you. By March 3rd, 2 or 3 questions that you would like to ask. It'd be nice if the sponsor had their questions ahead of time so she could give it to the students so they can think about it, give them some think time to be thoughtful outside of the main question is around what can the commissioners do to support students around Belong, Grow, and Succeed. And that would be it. And, talk about next steps for sure. Some of the things that I'm going to need, because you all are not AACPS employees, and we're treating this virtual, which we've done before, but we were in COVID and we had virtual speakers. If we were in person and you were entering into a building, you would have to show your license to go through our Raptor system, and that is for safety and security for students. Similarly, when we've done things virtually and had guests in, the non-AACPS individuals would send in a copy of their license ahead of time so we can take it through our Raptor system. And our school security at the board, they take care of that. So I definitely want to make sure that that is clear because, like I said, if we were in person, you would hand your license over to get scanned for safety. And so since we are in virtual, the other only option is to get a photocopy of the license. And I can get more direction as far as logistics. I don't know if some folks may prefer just to come in person and have it scanned, and I will have to find out like how many days prior to the event would our district, deem that as a fine. Like if you say, hey, I can come in 2 days before, have it scanned, it's on record, it's been scanned. So I can certainly work that out because I'm just thinking about that type of logistic because some people may not want to photocopy and send that information over. So I do understand that as well, but I can follow up on that to see if coming in a couple of days prior is an option to get the license scanned. And I think that's it. Any questions?
So, Commissioner Daydoni.
Hello, Dr. Gillens. Thank you. Also, I want everybody to know that Dr. Gillens deserves an endurance award for everything over the years, but in particular, I'm thinking of last night's Board of Education. I believe you quit around 11.
I'm chuckling. Yes, I'm so sleepy, but I appreciate that, Dr. Cadoni.
I have two questions I want to raise with you. The first has to do with the Maryland Commission on Civil Rights and our Office of Equity and Human Relations Hate Bias Crime Forum scheduled for March 29th. So this is to you and Chief Equity Officer Smith as well. How are you collaborating? And this particularly comes to my mind because the hate bias incident reporting statistics that have been maintained by your office have yet another set of criteria. My next question has to do with something I heard and observed at last night's Board of Education meeting. To my eye and ear, Superintendent Bedell was feeling the weight of the racism and other forms of hate that he'd witnessed in Anne Arundel County. And he had words to that extent, saying it happens all the time. And yesterday, it was particularly heavy. And correct me if I'm misrepresenting. I will be writing to him personally to say, what can I do to help? But I have wanted to bring to you, and I'm grateful you were here so I can do so, the question of what should we know? What can we do?
Yeah, so I'm going to try to take apart the question. So the first one, as far as collaboration, I know that Dr. Nikki, I'm one of the partners that she did reach out to for participation on March, I guess it's 28th, for the Hate Bias Forum. So definitely will follow up on that. As far as the collaboration with Asha and I, it's funny because Asha and I do communicate a lot. And over the years, we've definitely talked about our data. But I don't know, Asha, help me if I can say like a more of a formal type of, partnership. I think we we communicate a lot.
Yeah, I think that there is I think that the mechanism for that to become more formal is now solidified. I think we now have a better opportunity than we had in the past. We have staff, we have disaggregated data. Dr. Nikki is really, as part of the Shepherd Bird work, also kind of taking on some of the collaboration with our Arundel Stat team around the data. So yes, I think it's fair to say that we can formalize that partnership. And when we did meet with Michael Dickerson and some other folks, you were in that meeting too, Dr. Gillens, to talk about the grant. There was an interest in continued close collaboration. At least that's what I perceived. So there is an intention to continue that. Absolutely.
Definitely. And then the last question, Dr. Dodoni. Oh, how the superintendent? Yes, you definitely read it. Well, that's how I read it. I read it the same way you read it, and how I received what he was saying, what was behind what he was saying. And so one of the things that I thought was powerful last night, I'm going to get emotional right now. And forgive me because it's coming over on me right now. What was powerful is people speaking up, basically saying, we're not going to have this nonsense. This is what we're not going to do, not in our communities. And really, because I think that oftentimes you feel like you're in isolation. I got to fight this fight by myself. And so I do think that the testimonies we got from students and adults to say, no, we're here. And here's the harm, here's the impact of all these executive orders that's happening here. And the reassurance that we got from the superintendent that, no, we're going to protect kids. We're protecting all kids in Anne Arundel County Public Schools. And I think the more it's, and I appreciate hearing the work of the Annapolis HRC as far as just, the showing up. No, we're just making a statement with our presence, with our words, obviously with our actions, that we're not having it. This is no. I think more of that. I appreciate that letter. And I think showing up at board meetings or writing in for public comment, because what happens, you all know this to be true. The most people, they say the squeaky wheel, right? That whole saying. And so a lot of times we'll say based on data, well, no one came out to support this. So that means, no one wants it. That's not true. That is not true. So I do think for me, it was and you can even tell, I think, even the response of board members from hearing that testimony and the harm, right? Really centering the negative impact that these executive orders are having on communities, especially, obviously, I work with children, and that's who I'm going to always advocate for. So I don't know if I've answered that question, Dr. Dodoni, as to what can be done. I think there was power to hear what we heard last night, and that was before the superintendent spoke. So I'm sure that fueled, because he cited, right, some of what was already said.
Yes, and thank you. Now let's see if I can summarize for my also tired brain, but not so justifiably tired. Keep up the advocacy, guys. And if you can, and if it's appropriate, come in as the commissions. Did I get you?
That's it. Don't get tired on us. Can't be tired, y'all. Taking naps. Get your second wind.
What's the quote from the woman who was boycotting the buses in was it the Montgomery bus boycott? My feet hurt, but I'm no way tired. Something like that. I got to make her one of my heroes. Thank you. Shiros.
Okay. Is there any, Dr. Gillens, is there any, I know that having been a school board member, there's open testimony on no particular subject that can be given. And then there's topics on the items of the day. And should, and I know Commissioner Dodoni follows this more than I do, but would that be helpful if the commission took a position, which we haven't taken yet, but we can, and pledge collaboration in making sure that we live up to the goal that the county executive and the county council have said, which is making Anne Arundel County the best place for all.
Definitely.
Okay. Should that be something that's done at the next school board meeting, or how does, I didn't attend last night's meeting, so I don't completely understand what the central topic was.
Yeah, so there were, and definitely Dr. Dudoni helped me out with this. So there are two opportunities for public comment, and you're absolutely right. Typically, you're supposed to give public comment based on agenda items, but they switch things around because many of the participants giving public comment were students. So they did switch things around last night. So it isn't normal, because they wanted to make sure that the students didn't stay so long, but some of them ended up having to stay so long because of the budget amendments. And their budget amendment didn't come until like at the very end. So I'll look around with Bob Mosier, because our next meeting is a day meeting and they usually don't last as long. And so
right.
let me find out for sure as to, I hear you, the processes is typically like twice, once. The first time is usually based on an agenda item, and usually the second one is open. But let me double check on that. I also I'll do a timestamp of where Dr. Bedell spoke, because I think if you all are interested in doing public comment, I think it's really important to align, and just have some alignment of what he's already said. And I
agree with that. It would be helpful if you could forward the his comments.
Yeah, and I can probably transcribe it too, because YouTube has a transcribing feature, so I can also do that as well.
If you can do that, that would be helpful.
Okay.
Commissioner Daydoni?
Thank you very much, Dr. Gillens. You may have been tired, but your brain was doing better than mine was on that. I concur that the present pattern is testimony on agenda items before the meeting, before the business, and then testimony on non-agenda items after. There were a couple of groups in particular that showed up just speaking about the experience that they and their friends had as non-traditional binary cisgender identifying persons. And that was powerful testimony, and every time it arrives, it's powerful testimony. I'm going to share my observation. I have found the board to be more unified over the last couple of meetings, and particularly this meeting, on business issues that relate to equity. For example, with all the budget shuffling, there were amendments offered to have constituent services persons representing special needs families and students. And that was pretty strongly, uniformly supported, not unanimously, across ideological identities. So I was deeply heartened by that. I think people are hearing the stories, and individuals are coming in telling their stories, as well as Dr. Bedell and the administration being deeply rooted on agenda items in data. I attend every board meeting I can, and I represent many groups. I also know the power of having a panel or even two people talking on a topic, as the parents and students did last night, about the needs and experiences of their non-binary hetero cisgender colleagues. So I would typically represent another organization, but I can represent this organization and get somebody else to represent the other organization. I therefore offer that if we want to engage more regularly, that we can put together panels, and I will be glad to work with you to identify other members of the panels and hope we all get called for testimony. And we can submit written testimony without worrying about a quota.
Correct. Okay. As I said, we'll do our part, Dr. Gillens, and we're not too tired to do that. We're moving on towards the end of our meeting. I guess I'd ask Director Smith if you might either briefly give us a report or send it to us in writing.
Sure. Very quickly, I'll say that the dashboard was something that I was going to be including in my report this evening. And so we had that discussion early. So we have the cumulative 2024 numbers. Last year, this commission invited the county PD to help interpret some of those the annual numbers. You may want to consider doing that again this year. They may be able to give some insights as to why the numbers are down, what trends they've seen in the numbers, etc. The contact is Captain Elizabeth Smith, and you can let me know if you'd like to have
yes,
her
we do.
Okay.
We want that report.
All right, so we can go ahead and do that, and you guys can look at the dashboard in advance. In addition to that, there are some events that Chanel has put in the chat that are coming up. Dr. Nikki, obviously, her team has been working with MCCR and the, I want to say, the Office of the Attorney General on an event that is going to be held in March around hate bias. And so it's a 2-day event. Registration is required. It's in there. I think you guys have gotten the invitation separately. Please register and attend if you can. It's going to be held here in our county. I think there was an attempt once to go out to Frostburg for a similar event, and it didn't work out because Frostburg was so far away. Now we have no excuse. It's going to be at the community college, right in our backyard. So that should be great. And I think that's really it. We wanted to talk about Unity Day. Dr. Gillens has given you guys the information. Please just be mindful of that March 3rd date by which she'll need to have your security information so that she can get you entered into Raptor, and she'll need the questions, the 2 to 3 questions that this group would like to ask the students about their experiences and etc. I don't have anything else to report at this time.
All right. Well, at this point in time, we've had a very full and involved meeting. I would just say that we'll have an update of where we're going with the strategic planning, which we didn't talk about at our next meeting. Our next meeting will be a face-to-face meeting. We'll set it up with Director Smith and her staffs. And at this point in time, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Go
ahead, Mary.
Commissioner Daydoni, seconded by Commissioner Sorrow. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, none opposed. Thank you all, and have a great evening.
Thank you.
Everyone, have a great evening.
Be safe.
Thank you, Justin.
Thank you, guys.